Hello and welcome to the Blue Amber Saga. It is Autism Awareness Week, so let's us talk more about what it's all about. So, according to the National Autistic Society, it affects more than 1 in 100 people, and it is estimated that 700,000 people in the UK live with it. Which at the moment, there's about 67 million people in the UK, and so about 1 in 100, give or take. And so basically autism, so it's the way the brain processes things, and that there tends to be kind of faster parts and kind of slower parts to it all. And because of that, it basically impacts everything from how the senses work, and also in terms of communication, and just everything as a whole, because it affects how the brain processes things, then that will affect how different things appear in terms of through your body and through how we deal with situations. And so because of all of this, there is actually a high chance of also living with other conditions as well. So that could be having an additional kind of learning difficulty, or it could be going along the kind of mental health side of things, so like depression. But also it can be other kind of neurodiversity conditions, so like ADHD, for instance. And so autism is a spectrum, and it varies a lot between each of us. And so there's a saying that if you've met one person with autism, then you have only met one person with autism. And so the way to kind of think of it is it's like a t-shirt that have like the color explosions, where you have like all these different kind of patterns across your t-shirt, and how each of those will actually be a unique kind of pattern and will differ from each other. Even though you might have the same colors, the kind of locations will be different, and yet it will be unique. And one of the kind of cool phrases, which probably came across this a few years ago, is the Hawaiian word for autism, which is, I'm going to try and pronounce this. So it's Takiwatanga, which basically means within their own time and space, which I thought that's actually quite a good way of kind of explaining it, and actually a really helpful approach of any kind of situation in that, to kind of also just bear that in mind. And so currently so autism actually is more apparent in males, although the reason for this is that it's actually changing, and because there's a greater awareness that it's actually starting to be diagnosed in females more. And so it's partly a diagnosis kind of reason rather than necessarily a gender divide, as it were. But one of the reasons for this is actually because females typically tend to be better at masking some of the kind of signs, especially in social situations where that tends to be a lot more apparent in males. And so some famous people with autism. So it's considered that Isaac Newton, and Einstein, and some kind of artists as well. So like Andy Warhol, Lewis Carroll, who wrote Alice in Wonderland. Also Leonardo da Vinci. So those guys are considered to have lived with autism. But also there's more kind of modern people who have it as well, who we see especially on TV. So like Chris Paxman and the governess from The Chase are also examples of people living with it. And of course, with all of these things, there are quite a lot of kind of rumours and myths that can be spread about autism as well. So one of the big ones, I think it was back in the 1980s, was about how autism could spread, and it was basically the result of the MMR vaccine, of which actually they faked the results in that paper, and because of it created a massive public scare about people taking the vaccine, where actually from kind of more research, we know it's definitely a genetic thing, which is caused by multiple genes. However, which genes they are and how exactly they kind of intertwine we don't really know just yet. So that's still a interesting kind of point of discovery. Also, other kind of myths of like people with autism can't be independent, but also things like, oh, people with autism, yeah, they can't sing or they can't be funny. Which, to be fair, although I do say a lot of bad jokes, that doesn't totally reflect that I can't be funny. Um, Also, that people with autism can't act normal, or you just look too normal to be autistic. Or the other thing which I sometimes hear a bit is like, but everyone is a little autistic. Where actually it is true that some people will show some of the traits within the condition, but that by itself doesn't make someone actually having autism themselves. It is, as we say, a genetic thing. Also, another thing of like how autistic people are great at maths or are actually secret kind of geniuses within kind of their own special interests and hobbies, which again, we're not kind of restricted to that. And some people, I mean, that is the case that they are really, really good at a particular subject, but other times they can just, yeah, be relatively kind of normal, I guess, in terms of that. And yeah, so that's all a little bit about autism. Thank you for watching. This is the Blue Amber Saga.